Hello there, Ray here, and today we'd like to show you guys two simple sweet berry farm designs that I came up with, as well as some other facts about berries. We had quite a bit of fun designing up these farms on our Twitch stream, as well as you guys may have noticed that my skin has changed. Manrock made me this festive skin here. As you can see in the front, there's like a little green hoodie, and there's like a little berry that's attached to it, and on the back there's like kind of like a Rudolph red-nosed horns, as well as his nose sitting on the back of it. So it looks really cool. I really like the design. First, I'll talk a little bit about the berries, and then I'll show off these farms. And I have provided the world download to this world, which includes this crazy savannah village that I showed you guys in the last snapshot review video. Sweet berries is a new food source that was introduced in 1.14 snapshot. It can be planted on grass blocks, farmland, dirt, coarse dirt, as well as podzol. Sweet berry bushes can be naturally found inside of taiga and the variants of taiga, and rarely found inside of the snowy taiga and those variants. Sweet berry bushes come in 4 different stages. So this stage here is age 0, and then this is the next stage, age 1. So age 2, you can see there's some berries on it, and this is age 3 with the most amount of berries. And after you harvest it, then it goes back down to stage 1. It needs to have at least a light level of 10 of where the plant's at. So it can either have sky access, like if I would allow this light to go in there, then it can grow. Otherwise, if it's underground, then just put a torch in there. And it uses random ticks like most other crops to grow. The hitboxes on these are different. As you see, the small stage is quite small, and then these two stages are almost a full block, except for about 1 pixel off from each side, and this is a full block, this full berry bush one. The property of the sweet berry bush is that it makes the player walk through much slower, so you can see me walking back and forth. Now if I go inside them, you can see how much slower it is for me to move back and forth. And if you're in survival, the little guy won't do any damage to you, but if you start moving through any of the other ones, they will do a half heart of damage every time you move inside of them. If you stand still, they won't do any damage to you. Despite their hitboxes being different, that's the little lines that show up when you point your cursor at them, these guys all have the same collision box. Collision box is what the player kind of interacts with when he collides with it. So if I place a chest up here, and I move myself up against this chest, I should not be able to be intersecting this little guy right here. But even though that is true, I still get the slowness effect. As you see, if I move back and forth, I kind of move jittery, because I'm still getting the slowness from this berry bush. This may be a bug. They act similar to the cobweb as they slow you down when you go through them, but you can see the cobweb is much slower than that of the bushes. And similar as the cobweb will negate any fall damage, if we go ahead and drop on top of one of these bushes, you can see I did not take any fall damage. Items also fall through them, similar to that of cobweb, but not as slow. You can harvest them just by right-click them, and if they're in stage 2, they'll produce 1 to 2 berries. And if they're in stage 3, they'll produce 2 to 3 berries. Bone meal works on them, and every time you bone meal them, they will increase the age by 1. So there's age 2, and then there's age 3. And then if you right click one more time, it won't waste any bone meal, but it'll just be like a right click action and you end up harvesting it. Another way to harvest the plant of berries is just to break it. So if I use my left click, you see I go from 35 to 37. Fortune enchanted tool, such as this axe here, does actually work. So I got 36, and if I use a fortune on it, you see I go all the way up to 41. But you end up having to break the bush. Like most plants, water can also destroy it, and this will harvest the berries as well, but then again, you're still left having to replant the bush. Eating a sweet berry will increase your food level by 2 points, but will give you 0 saturation. I made 2 different types of farms here. This one here is a bone meal variation. So what we have is 2 dispensers pointing into this berry bush, and what you do is just fill up these dispensers full of bone meal, and then this will allow it so the dispensers can apply the bone meal onto the bush here, and this will automatically be able to allow it to grow from stage 1 to stage 2 and then stage 3. So if we go ahead and harvest it, and then we click this lever here, it's going to unpower this piston here, which is going to retract this observer, and this is going to cause this observer clock here to pump power into this block here, and that's going to power this dispenser as well as this one, and then both of them are going to apply bone meal at the same time onto this bush, so it's going to go from stage 1 all the way up to stage 3. And then it's just going to keep trying to apply bone meal onto it. This is not going to waste any bone meal. And then what the player can do is AFK here, just by holding down right click. And what you want to do first is fill up your inventory worth of something that's not a berry. And then just right click onto the bush. And this way your character will harvest it. And then as soon as you harvest it, the dispensers will apply more bone meal to it. And you can see how fast this is. As soon as you right click, it just instantly regrows it back again. And all the berries are slowly falling down through the bush, as they kind of fall through slowly like a cobweb. And then what they're going to do is come in contact with this block here, and underneath that block we have a hopper minecart. This hopper minecart is able to pick up any items that are above it. We have this hopper minecart sitting above 4 hoppers. And this way the hopper minecart can go ahead and have its items picked up by these 4 hoppers at the same time. So if this hopper minecart would have some berries inside of it, you can see that it's going to empty out very quickly. And because it's slightly over top of each of these hoppers are taking out their share of the items and then dispensing them into these chests here. Now the way I got the hopper minecart in that position is that I put chests in just like so, and then I push the minecart up against those chests, and the hopper minecart is also sitting on top of the trapdoor. This way he is tall enough so that he can reach the items that are top of here. So all you would have to do is just have your player sit here and then hold down your right click. You can always switch your right click key to a key on your keyboard and then just put a weight on it. And then this way you guys can just sit here AFK and keep clicking on the berries and have the dispenser continually bone milling the bush so that it produces more berries. Now this method is extremely fast in producing berries, and it's actually so fast that eventually the hopper minecart down here won't even be able to keep up even with 4 hoppers. But by that time you'll probably most likely run out of bone meal. And if you always want to, you can always add in some hoppers to resupply the bone meal inside these dispensers. With this very small farm here, you can produce 47,000 sweet berries per hour, as long as you have bone meal. Now, one way you can get bone meal to supply this farm without having to actually craft up the bones from like a skeleton farm, you can use my AFK fish mob farm, which also produces bone meal. There is still this bug that's in the snapshot, which is the one I reported in the very first snapshot with 1.14, where observers, when you unload the chunks, can get in the state where they're always powered. And you can find the bug report down in the description. This farm here that I designed is a little bit different than the previous one. Here we just let the berry bushes naturally grow up and produce the berries on them. And then what we'll do is we'll have the player go in front of them while riding a minecart, holding down right click, and this way he can harvest them as he comes in contact with them. So what I have here is a strip of some dirt, and then on top I have all the bushes lined up, and it goes quite far. And you can make this farm as large as you want, as long as it's within the 8 chunk radius of the circle that is ticked around the player for the crops to be able to grow. And then what we have is we have a minecart as well as track on this side, and also a minecart track on this side. And then the player will be sitting here, just facing forward, AFKing, and then you also hold down your right click button. There's multiple ways of being able to do that while also AFKing. And then what we have is a clock that is over here. And what I found out is that about once every 20 minutes, the bushes have a pretty good chance of all of them being in the full stage. And this happens once per day. So what I have is a daylight sense here. And when it's getting close to noon, power will come over here, and then this will come over to the player. So the player will be launched from his minecart, and he'll go across it and start harvesting them. Then after the player comes back, then a little bit later, when it does become high noon, the signal strength will come all the way over here, and then what we have is another monostable, which will send the power over into this section here, which will launch this hopper minecart, which will go underneath and be able to pick up all the berries. Now we have a short delay between sending the player and sending the hopper minecart to pick up the berries. This is because when the berries fall off of the bush, they're just like cobwebs. It take a little time to be able to get all the way down to the bottom where the hopper minecart can reach them. So this way we wait a little while. This also gives time for the player to go down and back, because sometimes he missed some of the berries going down, and when he comes back he'll be able to get them. So this is what it would look like. The player would hold down right click, and as he comes in contact with the bushes, he's going to go ahead and harvest them. You see once in a while he misses like every 6-1. Then when he gets to the end, he's going to hit the bumper, and then he's going to turn around and go the other direction. So here we reach the end. Now I come back, and now if there's any bushes that I missed the first time, I'll go ahead and harvest them. Notice how all the items are sitting there, and I filled my inventory of items that are not berries, so none of them can go in there. And then what we'll have is, as soon as I return, the hopper minecart that is on the other side will be able to get launched. And this happens about 1,000 game ticks after the player has launched. Now I come into my holding area, and the player sits there, and now next thing that's going to happen is the hopper minecart is going to be sent. There goes hopper minecart, and it starts to pick up all the items, and it goes along the entire thing, and after it goes to the far end, it just turns around and comes back, and it comes into this unloading station, which will be able to unload all the berries over into this chest here. Now this one here, depending on what size you make it, will produce different amounts of berries. This design here is 64 meters long, and this one will produce about 500 berries per hour, which is considerably slower than that one, but you don't have to use any bone meal on it. And like I said, if you want to make it produce more, you can always increase the size of it. Now at the moment, berries seem relatively useless as they don't provide very much food when eaten, and you can't craft them up for anything else. This may change in the future. They may come up with something like a berry pie or something other than that, but it is a well-known fact that there is tons of different types of food sources in Minecraft, and not all of them are being used by the player. So I really like what they did with the suspicious stews, where they gave them a special potion effect to go with them. It would be nice if they would also give that to some other types of food, some of the more common ones like golden carrots and stuff like that. Maybe they give you like a speed boost or something like that. And maybe you can turn like these berries into like a pie, and that pie gives you something special. 2 simple yet efficient sweet berry farms for 1.14. I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and if you found this video interesting, show me a like and share this with others. If you'd like to see more discoveries that I find out about 1.14 and farms I build from them, be sure to go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell button to get notifications. And tell me what you guys think the berries should be used for in future snapshots down in the comments. Bye bye!